How to Find Love, a guide to finding love for the midlife woman. Module 5, Managing Midlife Men Relationships, Part 2. Let us look now at how to manage the different characters of men we described earlier in this course. If we look at the 4 characters based on chess pieces, we can see that none of them represent an ideal, trouble-free partner. You might find the exception, but if you do, it'll be mostly due to you making it clear what you want and what you will and will not put up with. That comes down to adopting the character of the chess queen. Despite the danger of repeating myself yet again, I must emphasize a satisfactory relationship begins and ends with you. The more self-sufficient you can make yourself, the better. The more independent you are, the more worthwhile men will respect you and admire you. And that gives you the choice which one to develop a relationship with. It's up to you to take leadership. When you are sure of yourself, he will respect and admire you. You need to control how the relationship with him will develop. The knight. The basic strategy here is to stick with him. Be prepared to ride on the back of his horse or pillion until his energy runs out. As long as he stays a party person, you need to stay a party girl. If you're not with him, he's likely to go off after interesting-looking ventures, usually in the form of other women. Presumably you had a taste for the sex, drugs and rock and roll lifestyle, or you wouldn't have found him attractive in the first place. When his wild wandering mojo runs down, he'll be more stable and settled, but it's likely that his health will deteriorate as boredom sets in. You need to keep as much music, excitement and entertainment in your lives as you can afford. Take responsibility for the money to ensure there's enough to get by. You may need to continue working to support him and yourself. If possible, build up a bit of a nest egg of your own as a precaution for unexpected financial demands. Check out and look after his state benefits and his pension rights, if he has one, and yours, of course. As you get older and money gets tight, you need to be ready to manage on less. The bishop. You need to be aware that if you take on a bishop, you need to be able to match his cleverness. You'll have picked him because you enjoy the challenge of keeping ahead of him. That means you're probably a strong, competitive woman. You will need to be and need to stay alert and resourceful. Keep you and your life interesting to him. Your biggest hold on him is fear of losing you. This game of matching a bishop won't appeal to many, but will to a few who want an interesting ride. You will probably have an expensive lifestyle, so make sure you have continued access to his money and check his will. But as a precaution, keep your own money separate and make sure you have your own financial independence. The rook. They are relatively easy to manage once they start to slow down in middle life. Often they have a background of working in a disciplined role where they had to follow procedures. They like to be occupied and will stay working for as long as possible, even if that's in low-paid work. They like routine and predictability. They appreciate a well-run home and good food. Encourage them to build up stimulating leisure pursuits and interests, both while they're still working and for their retirement. This could be gardening, walking, or spectator sports, or pets. It's desirable if you can show an interest in these too. As with all the other characters, it's important to keep an eye on the money. Your rook may well have saved some money and have a pension in the offing. You need to acquaint yourself with these and make sure they are not mismanaged. Once again, you need to watch his health and wellness. But it's important to keep your own money separate and nurtured, as you may have to live on it for a long time. The king. You need to be aware of his health issues and make sure they are taken care of promptly. The way to keep your king loyal is to be interested in what interests him. He has his passions and preoccupations, and you can best develop your relationship by supporting him in these. It's best if you can provide a safe space and routine for him. He needs looking after and protecting. Be the entertainment officer to make sure he does not become a recluse. Develop shared interests and pursuits. Watch the money, benefits and pension, if any. At the same time as looking after him, do not bury yourself entirely in his concerns. Actively pursue your own interests. There will probably come a time when you will be on your own and will need your own money, interests and friends to fall back on. That completes the review of how to build, manage and keep going relationships with the 4 types of midlife men we have identified. However, you will probably observe some common patterns. It's worth looking at these briefly. When most men have done their biological duty of fathering their children and supporting them as they grow up, they tend to start reverting to childhood themselves. You would have heard the expression that every man wants to marry his mother. Well, this is particularly true of midlife men and onwards. Their ideal partner in later life is the mother they had or wish they had had. Once again, don't take my word for it, look around. Thirdly, men die first. Statistically, it's well known that men die earlier than women. What you can influence is how much earlier. In later life, women become carers and nurses and are in regular battle with the Grim Reaper, which is another name for death. Finally, it's important to start planning how to support yourself emotionally and financially when you are on your own. On that dispiriting note, we come to the end of part 2 of Module 5, Managing Midlife Men Relationships.